Alright, boys. I made a lot of progress without filming it, and I apologize, but like that earbug on the radio right now, sometimes it be like that. Alright? So, tearing into the Mazda 6. First thing I did, and first thing you should do on any questionable car, is pull out the spark plugs. Take a look at it, do a compression test. I can show you how to do that. It's like a $20 kit off of Amazon. Take out the plugs, look for anything obviously wrong with them. For example, here's what I found. It ain't gonna be good, boys. Where is it? That is not what a spark plug's supposed to look like. It is totally sheared off. Here's a normal plug. Okay, I pulled two of these first. I'm like, yeah, not looking bad, not too sooty or whatever. Shortly after that, I pulled off the valve cover because I'm like, okay, something hit that. I'm guessing this maybe is an interference engine after all. And then, this is a broken rocker arm, boys and girls. You know what breaks rocker arms? Pistons hitting valves, okay? So, I got kind of a momentum, and again, I apologize, I went a little nuts without an update. But, I took the valve cover off, and you can see right here, that should not be broken, right? It should look like this one down in here, if you can see it, where basically it's got like a little pivot point, and that comes over on top of your actual valve with your spring. So as this cam lobe comes around, it kind of hinges back and forth. Totally snapped off on the same cylinder where I found the messed up plug. So, I know the engine's locked up. I know some bad mechanical interference happened. So now there's really no other option but dropping the motor. I could pull the head off. The piston might be okay, but it's got metal all down in it. Best case, probably it's got a hole on the top of it. And then to put a new head on, I'd still have to time it in the car, which just looks like it would be brutal, right? There's no space in here at all. So, I'm going to drop the motor. Notice how I said drop it. I've never done that. I've only ever come out the top. And being a front-wheel drive car, this is like infinitely harder to pull the engine than a rear-wheel drive car would be, like the Miata, which I literally did in a day, if you recall. That's how we got that nice BP4W, which is for sale. We got the crane, we got the tools, we got the technology. Wisdom teeth are healing up enough where I might just dig right into it. So yeah, it's kind of a bummer of an update, but it explains why the car was $350. So, the good news is, this motor's fairly sort of common. The Ford Fusion V6 is almost identical and you can make it work. So, it's not super likely that I'll find another AJ, I think this is called, the Mazda VVT Duratec 30. That's a mouthful. That's what she said. But I'm going to look at the salvage yard. The guy I bought it from, his wife actually works at my local salvage yard, so I might be able to try to finesse something there. And there's another one in Colchester, so fingers crossed we can find a replacement motor. I'm going to work on dropping it out the bottom. I might do a quick little rundown of things you always need to disconnect on any motor removal. That might be useful for some of you. And the first thing you need to do on any motor removal is, one, start soaking your axle nuts. If you're going to take it out with a tranny attached, which obviously we're going to do, it's almost always better to take it as a unit. And then, yeah, so get your axle nuts soaking, because even though it's a clean car, these guys still usually come out mean, so I'm going to PB blast that and just get it ready, because we need to actually pull these half shafts out of the transmission when we go to drop this. After that, you want to drain all your coolant and your oil, so I'll be doing that next. You just want to get all the fluids out of it. And the previous owner was good enough. Look what they threw in for the price of this car. See that, boys? Full oil change and coolant. Coolant's has been used, but that is literally probably $50, $60 or more worth of fluids. So that's the little stuff that adds up on these projects you don't think about. So the fact that he left that in there for that 350 bucks literally saved me 50 or 60 bucks. All right, so as I sit where the engine used to be in old SubZero, I wanted to do a quick video on what exactly an interference versus non-interference engine is, why it made us need to pull the engine, and how often do you get to just hang out in the rain under the hood of a project car. So let's cruise over there to old Benny Boy's tool bench, and I'll give you a quick little tech tip. Okay, here we are back in the laboratory, and for you to show what a interference or non-interference engine is, on my bench here I have a Miata head. So this is the top part of your engine. We're looking at a dual overhead cam 4-cylinder. So you can see your spark plug tips in the middle, and then you can see your exhaust and your intake valves. So basically, as your cams rotate through the stroke on your typical 4-stroke engine cycle, you've got your intake valves, which are almost always larger than your exhaust valves, that open to suck air in, and then you have your exhaust valves that open to let air out. So on the bottom is my exhaust manifold that goes to your exhaust, and on the top you have your intake manifold. So what we're looking at here, this in particular is a non-interference engine. What that means though is when these valves are open, and I wish some of them were for this video, they protrude this way towards your piston into the cylinder. So in this engine, the piston actually has these cutouts built in for valve clearance. So basically, when this is going up and down in your cylinder, even if the timing chain got out of whack or the timing belt broke, for example, these pistons can be going at their own kind of speed out of time or asynchronously to the head. So these valves can still be open and closing until your engine dies from the timing belt failure. And this piston will not contact your valves because of these relief cuts and just the general stroke on the motor. The engine that we got with the car, not this one, this is the replacement engine, but the failed engine, same thing. It's a dual overhead cam V6. So basically it's got 24 valves, right? Four valves, 2 intake, 2 exhaust per cylinder, is an interference engine. So between the stroke and the shape of the piston, which I would almost bet is a flat top piston, so it has no relief cuts, basically when it's out of time, bad things happen because your valves are opening and closing, and if it just so happens, your pistons will slam into your valves, and then the shock wave will come up your stem and it'll snap your rocker arm off, or worse, it'll just slam right into the head on some engines. So that's what happens whenever you see a car where they say slip timing or timing belt failed or what have you. You gotta look up if it's an interference engine or not, because if it is, you should walk away. In this case, we obviously did not walk away because this heap is here, but I went into it knowing full well that we would be replacing the engine. But given what we know about these engines, that they are in fact interference, I am going to replace the whole timing chain and tensioner and all that stuff on the new engine before I put it in the car. So it's kind of a pain in the butt because given that it's a V6, it's got 2 camshafts per head and it's got the crank pulley. So there's a lot of stuff, there's a lot of marks and lines that you have to get kind of lined up for this thing to run correctly. If you are out of time, sometimes it will not run at all. It'll try to start, it'll try to run, but other times what's worse is if you got like one intake cam that's off a little bit, it'll run just really poorly. So that's what has happened to me in the past on my other V6 engine for my MX-3. So we're gonna do our due diligence to hopefully prevent that from happening. But I thought you guys might like this quick little explanation of interference engines. Okay, with all that rambling out of the way, now we know why this motor's failed, we know why we didn't rebuild it, and we now know what an interference engine is versus a non-interference engine. So now on the series, we're going to pivot to pulling the engine out and rebuilding the new engine, servicing it, getting it up to snuff, so that way we don't have to worry about it having the same failure mode as this poor engine. But I will tell you what, yes, this engine did fail, but at almost 200,000 miles. And I'm pretty sure that the tensioners are a known problem. I don't know if they are a recall or not, but it goes to show you, if you read on your forums, if you see a technical service bulletin, just say to replace something like VVT or timing related or engine related or anything safety related, do that recall, especially because dealers will often do it for free. Take the time and do it, because they'll save you a lot of heartache down the road. So that's Benny Boy signing out. If you learned something, if you liked it, please like and subscribe. And I like bringing you guys videos, so stay tuned. Peace.